Hello, it's Anusha. You may have noticed some differences in the camera quality. Yeah, I'm using my Canon camera because the phone and the laptop just weren't cutting it. The camera quality is a bit different. I will do a whole other video on technical issues that Anusha has had in the past summer, but this is not that video. This video, we're talking about Spotify and counter propaganda. I'm gonna actually set the scene because I don't think a lot of people are as tapped in as other musicians are, right? Because we have to be. So I will give you a little bit of context to what's happening, and I will also talk about what will is probably going to happen in the future. What happened is Deezer thought they would be a little bit cheeky, and they'd be like, "We could undercut Spotify. Let's get a few extra subscribers to our platform." And they came out with something which was actually quite concerning, saying that a good 20-30%, and I might be making that number up, but a whole chunk of their uploads recently have been AI tracks. Or what they're doing to counter it, put a pin in that, is they are now labeling AI tracks if they are AI, and they are essentially erasing sort of the quote unquote low quality ones, or the ones that are essentially plagiarism, in order to make the platform easier to use. And a lot of people are applauding this. Not me though, but we'll get to that. Spotify were realizing that they were looking like brats. They have decided to clamp down on their AI tracks as well. So what they said they would do, and I'm reading off something here, is they said that they removed about 75 million tracks from Spotify that were deemed AI, low quality, etc., etc., just like nonsense tracks. As Anusha, who has been using Spotify for about 5 years, so I'm not an expert, but I do know it. What Spotify counts as a low quality track is a little bit subjective. What people count as a low quality track is a little bit subjective. And one would argue that low quality could also mean people like me who make music but have enough money to sort of be spending all this time and energy in producing. So they might be releasing like voice notes and things like that, and maybe that's their art. And if they're doing a low quality, they could accidentally be named AI. Not hugely the case, because I'm a lot of it is probably algorithmic, but there is a possibility. So that's my first concern, right? What is a low quality track? You let me know. They also said something that I could talk about all day, but this camera cuts off at every 12 minutes, so I'm gonna have to do the Spark Notes version. Is they said that there'll be no more impersonation, no mass uploads. Every track that has used AI has to be disclosed. Oh boy, let me lock in because I have opinions. Dear viewer, what is AI? A language learning module, one of the two. A language learning model, an LLM. Language learning models, they do not have original thought. It is almost like predictive text. Ergo, they have to have a basis of something, whether it is the original person's voice or someone like Taylor Swift. AI is not original in its nature. So how can you as a company say that there will be no more plagiarism? Because then we'd have a problem. But my point is that all AI is plagiarism. So to say that there'll be no plagiarism, a lie. Propaganda. A selling point. Okay. A lot of these companies cannot actively say that they're anti-AI. The Deezer thing was really funny, and I've made notes and I'm jumping to the end because I really want to get this out. So I don't really like Anthony Fantano. I think he's a little bit of a liberal, and it just but whatever, let's just, for argument's sake, I actually did watch part of his interview with one of the Deezer CEOs, and this Deezer guy was proper trying to be smarmy and be like we're the better platform. But then when Fantano says to him directly, what do you think about AI art? Is it art? He couldn't really answer the question because a lot of these companies have invested in AI themselves. A lot of these companies have invested in AI, with AI companies. Therefore, if they were to suddenly be like, oh, I'm anti AI, I don't think it's art, I think it's bullshit, I think it's propaganda, their their company line would be mute at that point. A lot of these companies are not going to say they're anti AI. They have a lot of investors. You know, Timberland has invested a company that wants to promote and use AI with racism apparently as well, but we'll get to that. They're not going to be anti AI. It's just not in their nature. There will always be AI on their platform, which means them just labeling AI tracks, it doesn't stop Spotify using AI. It doesn't stop Spotify, try to say that a couple of times. It doesn't stop Spotify from integrating AI and normalizing it. They just want it to be acceptable. They want the acceptable AI. This is not a win for creators at all. And I think what I find quite bullshit about Spotify is what they're doing, and this is where the conversation gets a bit complicated, is in the normalization of AI, what they require, Spotify and other music platforms, it's not just Spotify, is that they want high quality art. So in order to prove that your art is valid or whatever, it needs to be of a certain quality. Now, again, that in itself is subjective. So if you're an artist who has under 1,000 streams on all their songs, you could be deemed as like low quality artist. You could be seen as a scammer. You could be seen as someone that promotes spam. Therefore, you are never a priority for Spotify. So if someone were to come and plagiarize me, and they were to say like, "Oh, my art's been stolen," well, realistically, Spotify could turn around and say like, "Well, you're not making good art, are you? So like, you're not a priority for us. Like, we're not going to come and defend you." Which means that like I'm just stuck in a long waiting line of other disputes, and people can steal my art, and maybe they do something to it that is more listenable, and then make money off me. Do you know what I mean? There's what is quality art? What is quality? You know, let's talk about me for a second, for a hot minute. I've left Spotify for several reasons. One, I think the AI thing was getting on my nerves because all platforms use AI, to be quite fucking frank. I just found out YouTube might be using AI on everybody's videos. I don't have confirmation of that, but it seems complete bullshit. I can't always escape it, even with Bandcamp, to be fair. But at the same time, I think Spotify, it just was too much and too much of a risk. There was also some news that came out recently that says something along the lines that Spotify could remix your song, or anybody could remix your song if it's on Spotify, and you wouldn't see a penny of it. And I think that really concerned me, even considering the nature of my songs, if you know what I mean. I didn't want to run the risk of that. Also, let's be frank, they don't fucking pay you anything. I've gotten more money from Tidal than I have from Spotify. I've made $500 on Bandcamp. I've made about a tenner, if that, from Spotify. Maybe like a fiver. What's the point of me being there? And I've said it before and I'll say it again. I am not algorithm friendly. I am not user friendly as an artist. And I'm not trying to be like, oh, I'm different, I'm different, I'm different. I'm just not. I look at it and I'm like, why play the game if it is always a gamble? And I'm having to sort of harm myself mentally, physically, in order to get a song that may just get like 1,000 streams. And you know, you could argue like, well, you know, it's about the art. I'm like, it is about the art. That's the main focus. But I'm not gonna run the risk of all the AI bullshit and also invested in genocide. Like, you know, if you Google what Spotify CEO is doing with Israel, and yeah, do all of that for a song that's gonna get like 500 streams. Like, no, the cons outweigh the pros. I think what I'm really bothered by is the cultural weight that Spotify has been able to garner for itself. You may not know this, but I'll, I'll explain it even if you do. Spotify obviously runs on metrics. It's sort of like a social media channel, like how many people are listening to you, and that can be inflated with playlisting and things like that. But it also kind of signals like, oh, who's the most popular artist and things like that. A lot of application grant funding things sort of start off with Spotify numbers. If you read any PR EPK, so electronic press kit, that you give, so you send those to radio stations, you send those to platforms, big or small, you tend to lead with how many social numbers you have, because that will signal if people are investing in you. And then that's why you have a lot of these social media gurus, whatever, always looking about how to increase your investment, because realistically, that once you invest in yourself, other people will technically invest in you as well. So that's why a lot of people will try and get 1,000 followers on YouTube, because once you hit that 1,000 threshold, you can get ads, and so then the ad people will come and they'll be like, "Sell our game. You need to have this much." You get what I'm saying? Like there's thresholds and stuff. I think what I am finding hard, right, and I'm being honest here, is that nothing is free. I've been asked so many times why I did not do application, grant funding, whatever for this mixtape. The reason I didn't do all of that, to be so blunt, is I don't have the energy, and they probably wouldn't come for me anyway. A lot of grant funders look to invest into people where they're gonna get something back, right? They're looking at how to get the best returns from their investment. It's just how it is. But what annoys me about Spotify in particular is that it holds so much cultural cachet, in that me leaving Spotify and not having a profile has automatically shut me off from people that I actually respect. You know, you think, I don't know, you maybe listen to this and thinking, like, are you looking to get on the BBC? No. But there are certain magazines, there are certain platforms, cultural thinkers, whatever, who champion indie, unsigned, unpopular artists. They kind of go for that, but they still look for your music on Spotify because it holds so much cultural weight. What I'm realizing with weights is I'm gonna have to do a lot of physical groundwork now in order just to get the single out. Not even just to, try and get people to listen to it. Ooh, can we have a bit? This is not a groovy single. It's actually a very sad single, but like, to get people to listen to it, I'm gonna have to do a lot. It's not gonna be a, throw it and go. But what it also means is that I'm gonna have to work slower. Spotify encourages efficiency, i.e., you can get as many singles as you want out of the platform. I can't do that now, so I'm working a bit slower. I.e., Waits is gonna be a bit delayed, and I'm thinking maybe next year. I don't want it to be next year, but it might have to be, because I'm looking at it and I just want to be ready with a single. I don't necessarily want to have to be exhausted. So I'm working with intention, I'm working slower. I'm not thinking about metrics or how many people are coming to shows and things like that. I'm just thinking about how can I make the best art and be well. Right? That's the important bit. How can I be well? Because I want to come out of this with a bit of energy. I don't want to come out with a new symptom that I have to go to the doctor to. Do you know what I mean? And I want to end it here, right? What can you do, right? One, leave Spotify. It is interesting what people will put their investment in, their attention capital into. Because look at what happened with Disney Plus and Jimmy Kimmel. People, I'm not going to repeat what people have said, but the TLDR of it is that it's interesting that white people will follow like a white man who has said some egregious things, but not boycott Disney Plus because of Palestine. But it's the same with Spotify. Like, people should have been fighting this AI shit months ago. With Palestine, with how they're paying artists, all this junk. And I'm not gonna say I've got it right completely because it took me a while to even think about leaving Spotify because it is a fucking palaver. I'm a new artist, had to weigh that up. I'm already, on the bottom rung, so I'm like, am I gonna have to just bung it all out anyway? And I did. And I think what I will say the last thing, and I've said it before, and I'm writing an article on it, is invest in artists, in small artists. Invest in the people that, are recording with their phone by, and it sounds so silly, liking the video. And I'm actually kind of being serious here. Liking their videos, subscribing, commenting, giving them tips and directions, offering them your services. If you can play the guitar for them, you don't realize how much money that person will be saving. Like something that will take if you play an instrument, something that will take you 30 minutes to just get your guitar out, record. That might save someone £200. And I ain't guessing. Invest your time, invest your attention, and also just like invest your energy. Because like, does Taylor Swift need another fan? Come on. Come on. I say this like every time. I always have to do like a piece of him because I have this Rihanna book that just looks at me every time I like critiques every culture, and I'm like, look, babes, I know. Spent 60 quid on you, I know. We don't have to be investing all our time in this. I always do is that I'm always like, okay, well, buy this person's song from Bandcamp, give them £3, do it per month. I just realised I need to sign up with Universal Credit and I've got 20 minutes to do it. Oh shit. What a terrible end to the video. My point being is that, yeah, like, just invest your time and energy into unsigned artists. And if they don't follow the cultural norms, i.e., oh, I'm not on Spotify, I'm not doing this, still share their music. Because again, that one share might connect them with a lifelong partner that might completely change the course of their career. Spotify and AI have fucked up my release big time. Not because I was ever planning on releasing on Spotify, but just the amount of grunt work I've had to do when it comes to weights. The song's basically finished, but it's just taking a little bit extra to tweak it. But I'm realizing that, as you know what, again, this is something that I may have to sit down and think about with myself, is the amount of work I have to do in order to sort of get people's attention. Like, what's R.I.P. my guy? What's that? That's that meme. 12 for me, daddy. 12 for me. Like the amount of shit I have to do in order to sort of get people's attention and sort of like the performance that I have to do. It's not that I feel uncomfortable. It's just the energy it's taking. Like it's for me, it's taking away a little bit from weights because I'm having to put on now my marketing hat. And it's just days like this where I wish I had a bit of help. That's all. But yeah, that's all I got. Like I said, invest in art, invest in people, subscribe to the channel, share this video, share this information because, like I said, I'm always here to make counter propaganda. Spotify like to think we did it for real art. They did jack shit. Because, yeah, they've not really done much when it comes to getting rid of their AI. They just don't want to get caught with it. I'm going to stop talking. I need to do my universal credit assumption thing. Oh, fuck. Alright. Can I do it in 20 minutes? We'll see. Otherwise, I may be asking you for more money next month.